Hey everybody, my name is Garrett Hartle. This is Reach Out Reptiles, and today is Tuesday, which means it's time for Talk 'em Up Tuesday. Guest for today's Talk 'em Up Tuesday has been around for quite a while, and I'm sure many of you know his name. That's going to be my old buddy Jake Klotz. And Jake's always got some kind of cool cutting-edge morph combination that he's making. He specializes in a lot of the phantom stuff and the anthrax stuff, but every now and then, as a breeder, I think you have something that just is a little bit different that tickles your fancy. And for Jake, it's always been these Sulawesi locality retics. And Jake has produced now a couple of generations of Sulawesis with this incredible color and pattern that they have, selectively bred into some of his favorite morphs. So he's actually got up to 75% platinum tiger Sulawesi blood. And it's pretty cool to watch a breeder have the vision for something like that most people don't even think of, can't even really see, and then prove us all wrong after a couple generations of just selectively breeding incredible wild-caught locality animals into the morphs that you think are the most spectacular. The coolest thing about it are the waves he's making with this, because it's now seems to be kind of the future of reticulated pythons. People are really focusing on the 2 or 3 gene animals that really look nice, and then getting some real funky, awesome, selectively bred, special bloodlines to strengthen those genes and add a new twist, creating animals with the classic mutations we love in a way that we've never seen before. So let's check it out. Say hey to Jake. Jake, welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. So I just have, usually when we do these things, I just run everybody through just a handful of questions, and we'll see where it goes from there, all right?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, first question. This one's, I think, maybe a little bit tricky for you, maybe more than most people, just because we've known each other for a while now, but how did we meet each other?
Like, to be honest, I don't 100% remember. I think we started
I can't remember. I'm glad you said that, because I can't remember either.
Like, I think we started talking online because I hatched out some babies, and you were still working for Jay at Prehistoric, and
yeah.
We were trying to work out some trade. It was actually my first retic clutch ever that I hatched, and we were trying to work out some trades. For the first trade, I think, was my blonde tiger, and then the second trade was for an anthrax.
How old is the blonde tiger? You remember?
She is 2000 and what are we in now? 18. So she's a 2011 or 12, maybe.
Yeah, that's
2011, I think.
So you and I are coming up on like a decade.
Yeah, almost.
Closing in.
Yeah. And then I remember the first time we actually met was my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, she surprised me with a trip out to Prehistoric.
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
That was the first time we met, and Jay wasn't there, so he's like, oh, Garrett will show you around and all that, so that was actually the first time we physically met.
That was just you and me hanging out, and then I saw you, I started vending at the Tinley Park show.
Yep.
And that's up in your neck of the woods.
Yep, and then we were hanging out, and yeah, pretty much.
Just kind of been doing that ever since.
Yep, absolutely.
That's funny. I remember specifically that Anthrax Girl, that she was fine. You were very concerned that she had a nice temperament, and
she was.
And I said she was great. And I had her in the little rack because I had her for a while and was taking care of her. And then I shipped her out to you. And yeah, it was like email after email complaining about how horrible she was. I specifically remember you not going with my recommendation.
Right.
So that must have stuck in my craw a little bit.
Yeah.
And then she was really mean when you got her out, right?
Yeah, I've had a lot of the retics. I've had wild caught stuff when I was a kid, and they were mean. This thing was on just a different level. She was the most vicious retic I still, even to this day. She's good now, but when I got her, she was I've never had one that mean ever since. But I mean, she's great.
And this is the funny thing. I told Jake she was really nice, and she was really nice. The whole time she was at Prehistoric Pets, she was great. She went to your house.
Me, so
well,
it might have just been me.
To be fair to the Anthrax, Jake is a pretty scary looking guy when you first meet him.
Yeah. Not really. Not that bad.
I don't know, he's like about, hold on, I gotta get down a little bit lower to show how he's about this tall. And he's got the big beard, and you know what I mean? Looks like he
we have that picture of me and you, and I think Shane from Tinley, and it is pretty crazy to see the size difference.
I'm gonna Photoshop you back down to our level.
There you go.
I remember, speaking of Prehistoric Pets, there was a picture where all of us, and by all of us, I mean there was like 20 different retic people there that day or something, holding Twinkie outside.
Yep.
And she never looked so small because you were in the middle and you're like 7 foot tall. Yeah. How tall are you?
Like 6'6".
6'6". Okay, I could have swore you were 8.5 feet tall, but I guess I was just in my mind.
A little bit off.
Okay, cool. Well, it's been a while, and my wife was very excited to meet your wife, and you have the baby. As soon as any of the reptile people like have a baby, they get on Ashley's radar. She's like friends with you now because that's her language. Yeah, she probably talked to you more than I did at the last Tinley Park. So
she's awesome.
Yeah, no, she's a lot of fun. So okay, so let me ask you this. In your own words, what would you consider your reptile specialty?
Well, retics, that's all I keep. Different morphs and stuff, but I think I'm probably most well known for probably my phantom stuff and my anthrax stuff. I have a lot of different anthrax.
Well, it's kind of one and the same with yours, isn't it? I mean, a lot of it is phantom head anthrax and...
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of phantom stuff. I kind of got into the project. I think I was the first one in the U.S. that actually bought a phantom, from what I remember.
Baller move. What a baller move,
yeah,
dude.
It was a gamble. I mean, it was the biggest. I spent a lot more than I probably should have, and it was a gamble. And I mean, it did pay off for me in the long run. I'm glad I did it. My collection probably wouldn't be where it is without that original animal. So, but I think the phantom stuff's probably what I'm most known for.
Yeah, okay. Well, and, I like what you said there about, how much you spent on the animal versus how it paid off in the long run. But you are several generations in on that project now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's the key that a lot of people, when they get into, like, investment level breeding, like what you're talking about with that project, buying a really hot Codom male, I mean, that's pretty crazy. Because those prices come down real fast. And I'm sure you were planning on that. But you make it up in the follow-through.
Yeah, I mean, I have eggs incubating right now that would be my original sire. That would be, these babies would be great. They're like 4th generation off the original males.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. So
that's a short time frame too, because that's an incomplete dominant gene. So what? Every generation is 2 years.
It's basically been every year.
Every year.
Make a male, raise them up, breed them. So.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's been pretty lucky so far with the whole phantom stuff. So
awesome, very cool. So okay, so here's a question. This one might be a little bit. This is my question where I always like to get a little bit edgy. Okay. So what is your most favorite and least favorite thing about the reptile industry?
My most favorite and my least favorite.
Yeah, not talking about keeping reptiles, but talking about being a member of that industry.
Like, my most favorite, I probably would just be, like, I love talking snakes. Like, I go to the shows, and I just love talking to people and meeting new people, and I like showing off my animals. Like, even if I go to a show and don't sell anything, just to be able to show off my animals and talk to other people and talk to new people or people that might not have ever owned a retic, or, just show all the cool morphs, and I don't know. That's probably my favorite thing about the hobby. Least favorite, I don't know.
That's going to be a tough one for you because what you just said is usually people's least favorite.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm not a huge talker, so I am, but I don't know. I like when I start talking about snakes, I can just go on and on and on forever.
Maybe that's why I'm thinking not a huge talker. Come on, I've never heard you shut up, but I guess we're always talking about snakes.
Right, when I'm snake stuff, but My least favorite is probably, man, that is a tough one. I wish people would kind of be more selective with what they're breeding. I mean, if we're talking about like retic industry,
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like there's so many people that are just pairing stuff up to just make babies, just to breed, which, you know, everybody wants to breed stuff, which I can understand, but there's got to be some type of a thought process laid out, I feel like. It's scary, you know, I mean, I've been wanting to breed snakes since I was a kid, so, like, now that I'm here and I feel like I'm established, you know, I want to make sure that I keep that good image going, and I want to make sure that, just at least spread on what I believe is a proper thing as far as breeding and being smart about breeding and stuff like that.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay, so for my next question, this one's a lot more personal. Maybe it has to do with reptiles, maybe it has absolutely nothing to do with reptiles. It's kind of however you interpret it, and it's just so that we can get to know you a little bit better. All right, so in your life, what would you say, or who would you say has been your biggest teacher?
For me, it would be probably the late Jim Gaspar. It was probably my biggest reptile, you know, like, what do you want to call it, mentor or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I was a kid, I was like 14 years old, and got my first retic, and this was before there was even like forums and Facebook and all this, and I remember there was, it was called the Mini Retic. It was a Yahoo like mailing list forum type thing, and I was a part of it, and I would post pictures, and I was that, you know, 14-year-old annoying kid asking a million questions, and, you know, nobody wanted to give me the time of day. Oh, I'm a 14-year-old kid, I don't need a retic, this and that or whatever. And Jim Gaspar, and there was times I was like, you know what, this is worth it, I'm going to get out of snakes, it's too much. And Jim he personally emailed me, and we exchanged phone numbers, and he talked to me, and anytime I had a question or a concern, he answered it. He was the only guy that gave me advice for a while. He was an awesome guy. He was like, just reminded me of like a father figure type guy, just super down to earth, super cool, just like very just you know, well spoken. Just, I don't know, he really hard to put into words. He was, like you said, he's a legend. I mean, I feel bad that the newer group of keepers coming up never got a chance to talk to Jim, because he was just a wealth of knowledge.
They don't have somebody like that, yeah.
No, I mean, he was very willing to talk, and you know, he gave everybody the same type of respect, and that was, to me, awesome. Was the coolest thing. Like, 14-year-old kid asking, you know, kind of dumb questions, and he's like, here, this is what you need to do, this is this, and, you know, I remember him telling me, like, you know, stick it out. He goes, you have the passion for it, just don't let these people get to you. You have the love for the snakes, don't lose that. Yeah, without that, like I said, I don't think this would even be possible, the snake stuff for me.
Well, I certainly hope you're taking on that mantle and passing that on with the way that you do stuff, you know.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
Those are some pretty big shoes to fill, so if I can just...
But at 6'6", you probably have to have some pretty decent sized shoes yourself.
They're pretty decent.
I would imagine. All right, well, the last thing I want to ask is just, if people want to get a hold of you, how do we reach out to you? How can, if someone wants to hit you up about something, some 14-year-old kid with a million questions wants to talk to the Jake Klotz, how does he do that?
Facebook's probably the biggest thing. JK Reptiles on Facebook. I do get a lot of questions on YouTube, so again, JK Reptiles on YouTube. Instagram, JK Reptiles, but Facebook's probably the easiest, and I get back to everybody on Facebook very quickly, so
very cool.
That's the best way.
Well,
so, yeah.
what's your, do you have like a baby snake you can whip out real quick? I noticed you're in the snake room right there. What's the coolest one you got handy?
Yeah, bring this girl out. She's probably my favorite. Oh, she's deep in blue, of course, but that's all right.
That's what they do. They do that on purpose. Anytime you want to show off a snake, they start going into a shed cycle. Oh, wow, you guys, look at that.
That's 75% Sulawesi Platinum Tiger.
That is crazy.
Yeah, she's really nice. I gotta follow suit with you with the Super Dwarf stuff, you know?
No, you know what? I was on your waiting list to get a baby from that clutch since you started talking about it, you know, and soon as they hatched out, I was like, okay, where's mine? Asking you a million questions.
Long project, that's for sure. I envisioned these for a long time, and I'm glad they're finally starting to, they're blowing my expectations away, that's for sure.
Yeah, with that being said, thanks again, man, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, what a great guy, what a great episode. Jake, thanks again for being on. And if there's any takeaway for all of you guys out there in YouTube land, I think it's this. Find a project that you love. Invest your heart and soul into that project. And then just by people seeing how authentically excited you are about it, they're gonna be able to catch on and see the value in that project as well. And it just creates kind of like a snowball of movement for fun and exciting new projects. Now before we sign off, it's time to find yourself on my filing cabinet. Now today is gonna be a little bit different. I got a sticker right here from Tom's. And you're saying, hang on Garrett, isn't Tom's a shoe company owned by Blake Mykowski? Well, yes it is. And I can talk up Tom's shoes because number one, my wife loves Tom's shoes. But number two, this company has just such an incredible business model of giving. I mean, they have for every pair of shoes that you buy, they actually donate a pair of shoes to somebody in need in a third world country. They run like missions that people can volunteer for and put shoes on the feet of the poor in other countries. I just think that this is absolutely fantastic and awesome. The whole idea behind Reach Out Reptiles, a lot of it was developed on the business model of Tom's, where we try to do a lot of giving back. And that's part of what this is on Talking About Tuesday, just to give shout outs to all of you awesome guys out there. Hey, have a great week, and we'll see you right back here on Reach Out Reptiles for your free tip on Friday. Take care, guys.